This hearing is about saving lives, not partisan politics. We're here because organ procurement organizations, called OPOs, are trusted by the government and by the American people to honor the wishes of donors and save the lives of patients. Mr. Miller, I want to talk to you about the conversion rate metric that OPOs have used to report their work to the government. This is a rate of how, quote, successful, quote, OPOs are in transplanting those organs that have been available from eligible donors. Is that right?
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute. Congressman, in my time, I'm not aware of the conversion rate. Obviously, that's the current metrics. In my time, we've been focused on the new metrics. So you can...
You don't understand the metrics that were in use until a couple weeks ago?
Well, they are in use. What I'm saying is I don't have a deep understanding of them. So
you have a shallow understanding of how we measure whether or not we're saving lives or not.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't have a deep understanding is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, let's prove how good your understanding is because you're compensated to do this job. The way this works is there is a numerator in the question, in the conversion rate metric. There's a numerator that's the number of donors from whom the OPO actually recovers organs. And then there's a denominator, which is eligible deaths. So let's say that OPO A was able to get 60 organs out of 80 eligible deaths. Okay? Out of this comes to 75%. You following the math so far?
I'm following your math, Congressman.
Great. Now, let's say that OPO-B was able to get 70 donors out of 100 eligible deaths.
Correct.
Can you reduce this to a percentage for me? 70 over 100?
70%.
70%. All right. So under this conversion rate metric, which has been in effect, then it looks to me like this is the more successful OPO-A. They have a higher conversion rate. They would be rated as more successful.
Correct.
Has there been in the prior rules a standard definition of what counts as an eligible death?
It's my understanding, no, there has not. And that is part of the
So if an OPO didn't want to count certain eligible deaths, certain possible donors, they didn't have to. They could essentially define eligible deaths for themselves. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, Congressman.
And Mr. Miller, that means they might miss out on another 10 donors. I mean, this OPO went after 20 more people and as a result got 10 more donors. But under this prior metric, they look like they're performing worse. Why would you ever defend this kind of metric?
I have not defended that metric.
Within my time, Mr. Miller, I don't want to humiliate you today by reading your emails to my office into the record in which you argued against the new metric. Would you like to restate whether or not you lobbied for or against the new metric? Did you lobby against the new metric? Yes or no? You were yes or no?
We lobbied for improvements to the new metrics. We were not lobbying against the new metrics. We were simply, Congressman, what you're saying is correct. We want common definitions. You are completely correct, and that is
right. So you want a common definition. That's what the new rules deliver, but you didn't like the new rules because you had apparently other issues with it. My point here is that you were defending a system in which OPOs, you were operating under a system in which OPO-B looks like they're much worse than OPO-A. But in reality, it could just be the case that OPO-B is going after every possible donor, regardless of race, regardless of whether it's hard, regardless of whether they might not get turned down, regardless of whether or not it might be easy. They are trying to honor the wish of every donor and save every life. OPO-A, on the other hand, they only had 80 eligible deaths because, say, maybe the CEO of that OPO wanted to go on vacation and they took the OPO's private jet, which is supposed to be used for transporting organs, and therefore that jet wasn't available to go pick up the organs from these other deaths. Could that have happened under this scenario?
That I'm not aware of, Congresswoman. I can't respond to that specific allegation.
Well, that is an actual, that literally happened. An OPO CEO went literally on vacation. This is not a hypothetical story with the jet. They literally jetted off to vacation and left donors who were unable to honor others with the gift of life and left patients to die because they weren't pursuing every possible eligible death, every possible donor. That's what actually happened. And you have fought the changes in these rules every step of the way. We have the correspondence from our office, and I would be happy to introduce it into the record. Mr. Wadsworth, as an OPO CEO, would you say that these new metrics recently set into law are more accurate, that they address the problem that I've identified here?
Would, yes.
And are these realistic metrics that an OPO, if they're doing their job, could achieve?
Absolutely, yes.
And will these new metrics increase the number of organs transplanted annually and encourage OPOs to go after every possible organ, to take every opportunity to honor what donors wanted and to help save patients' lives?
Absolutely, which is why I think it's so important to expedite this and implement it right away in terms of the...
So glad you asked that. Mr. Wadsworth, how quickly could you implement this new system?
We get to work right away, right now.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so good to hear, Mr. Wadsworth, because tomorrow, somebody is at risk of dying in this country. Somebody will die in this country while they're waiting for an organ. Thousands of patients waiting on a life-saving organ cannot wait while the Association of Organ Procurement Organizations lobbies and tries to stop rules and procedures just to make it simply clear whether an OPO is doing the life-saving work of retrieving organs and putting them into patients in need. Thank you so much. I yield back.